Hello, and welcome. Welcome to Daily English Whisper. This is your calm place to learn. This is your slow place to grow. This is your space to build real English, step by step. My name is Alex. I'll be your guide today. And I'm really glad you're here. If you're listening right now, it means you want something more. You don't want fast English that feels stressful. You don't want complicated lessons that feel heavy. You want slow English. Clear English. English you can actually use. Today's episode is called Slow English for Beginners, Daily Listening and Shadowing. In this episode, we will focus on daily learning. Not learning once a week. Not learning only when you feel motivated. Daily learning that feels natural. Daily learning that fits into real life. By the end of this episode, you will understand how slow listening and shadowing can help you move from basic understanding to stronger, more confident fluency. Not all at once. Step by step. Many learners at your level tell me the same thing. They say, I understand a lot, but I still feel slow. They say, I can follow English, but speaking and listening still feel hard. They say, I learn, but I don't feel fluent yet. If this sounds like you, you are not alone. And very importantly, you are not stuck. You are in the middle stage of learning. This stage is powerful, but it can also feel frustrating. At this level, you already know many words. You already understand many sentences. But English still feels like work. And this is where many learners lose confidence. They think, I should be better by now. They think, why am I still slow? Let me tell you something very important. This feeling is normal. Fluency does not come suddenly. It grows quietly. And it grows best when learning feels calm. Many people believe fluency comes from speed. They think speaking fast means speaking well. This is a myth. Fluency comes from clarity, not speed. From comfort, not pressure. Another myth is this. You must study harder to improve. Also not true. At this level, you don't need harder study. You need smarter repetition. And this is the central idea of today's episode. Daily slow listening and shadowing build fluency naturally, over time. Not by forcing your brain, but by training it gently. When you listen slowly, your brain notices patterns. When you repeat with shadowing, your mouth learns rhythm. This combination is very powerful. It connects listening, speaking, and confidence. That's why this episode is a podcast. Not a lesson with rules. Not a test. You can listen while walking, while resting, while doing simple tasks. You can repeat softly, or repeat in your mind. Both help. Throughout this episode, I will speak clearly and naturally. Sometimes I will ask you to repeat. Sometimes I will repeat ideas on purpose. This is not because you are slow. It is because repetition builds fluency. You do not need to understand every word perfectly. You do not need to repeat every sentence. You only need to stay present. At this level, your job is not to memorize. Your job is to expose your brain to good English every day. Even 10 minutes matters. Even 5 minutes helps. Small daily input creates big long-term change. Now, let me say something honest. If you feel tired of learning, if you feel impatient with your progress, this episode is for you. We will slow things down. We will remove pressure. We will focus on consistency, not perfection. Because fluency is not a moment. It is a process. And you are already inside that process. So now, take a slow breath. Relax your shoulders. Let your mind settle. You are not behind. You are building something real. Stay with me. Next, we'll talk about the key technique behind this episode. Slow listening and shadowing. And how to use it at your level to move forward with confidence. Before we go further, let me ask you a simple but important question. How do you usually practice English listening? Maybe you watch videos. Maybe you listen to podcasts. Maybe you hear English in the background. This is good. But many learners at your level feel something strange. They listen a lot. But they don't always feel progress. They hear English. But it doesn't always stay. This is where today's technique helps. The key technique of this episode is slow listening with shadowing. You may already know these words. But today, we will look at them in a new way. Let's start very simply. Slow listening means you listen to English at a calm, clear pace. Not fast. Not rushed. Your brain needs time to notice patterns. When English is too fast, your brain focuses only on survival. It tries to catch words. It feels stress. But when English is slow, your brain relaxes. And when the brain relaxes, it starts learning naturally. Now, let's talk about shadowing. Shadowing means you listen and then repeat what you hear. Sometimes immediately. Sometimes with a short pause. You don't translate. You don't analyze grammar. You follow the sound, the rhythm, the flow. This is very important. Why? Because at this level, you already understand many sentences. But your speaking and listening are not yet automatic. Shadowing helps make English automatic. Now, let me explain how we will use this technique today. First, you listen carefully. You focus on meaning and rhythm. Then, when I invite you, you repeat the sentence. You don't rush. You don't try to be perfect. You aim for clarity, not speed. Let's try a short example together. Listen carefully. Learning English every day builds fluency. Listen again. Learning English every day builds fluency. Now, repeat after me. Learning English every day builds fluency. Good. Notice something. You didn't need to think about grammar. You didn't need to plan the sentence. Your mouth followed the sound. This is exactly what we want. Now, let's try another one. Listen. Slow practice helps the brain feel safe. Listen again. Slow practice helps the brain feel safe. Now repeat after me. Slow practice helps the brain feel safe. Very good. This is not just a sentence. It is also a message. Your brain learns better when it feels safe. Now, let me say something important. At your level, it is okay if you don't repeat everything. You can choose. You can repeat one sentence, then listen to the next. Both are useful. Listening trains your understanding. Shadowing trains your speaking. Together, they build fluency. Now, let's talk about why this works. When you listen slowly, your brain notices how English connects. You notice common structures. You notice how sentences begin and end. When you shadow, your mouth learns these patterns. Over time, you stop translating in your head. You start responding naturally. This is a big step toward fluency. Now, let's address something many learners feel. You may think, I already know this. Why repeat it? This is a very common thought. But repetition is not for beginners only. Repetition is for automation. Professional musicians repeat simple scales. Athletes repeat basic movements. Not because they don't know them, but because repetition builds control. English works the same way. Now, let's do another short shadowing practice. Listen carefully. I don't need to rush my learning. Listen again. I don't need to rush my learning. Now repeat after me. I don't need to rush my learning. Good. Say it again if you want. I don't need to rush my learning. This sentence is important. Fluency grows with patience. Now, let me explain how you can use this technique every day. You don't need long sessions. You don't need full attention. You can listen while walking, while cleaning, while resting. You can shadow quietly. You can whisper. You can repeat in your mind. All of this helps. What matters is daily exposure. Now, let me say something reassuring. If some days feel easy, and other days feel difficult, this is normal. Your brain is adjusting. Some days it absorbs more. Some days it rests. Both are part of learning. Now, let's practice one more sentence together. Listen. Daily listening creates long-term progress. Listen again. Daily listening creates long-term progress. Now repeat after me. Daily listening creates long-term progress. Very good. This sentence is true. Progress at this level is quiet. You don't always feel it. But it is happening. Now, keep this calm feeling. In the next part, we will talk about the main challenge learners face at this stage, and how to move forward without pressure. Stay with me. Now, let's continue calmly. Now, let's talk about the main challenge many learners feel at this stage of their journey. This challenge is very common, and it can feel confusing. Many learners say things like, "I understand English, but it still feels hard." Or, "I listen every day, but I don't feel fluent yet." Or even, "I'm learning, but progress feels slow." If you've ever felt this way, please listen carefully. This feeling does not mean something is wrong. It means something important is happening. You are moving from basic understanding to real, usable English. And this part of the journey is quiet. At the beginning, progress feels fast. You learn new words quickly. Everything feels new. Later, progress feels slower. But it is deeper. Now, let me explain this slowly. At first, English is new information. Your brain is excited. Later, English becomes a skill. And skills grow differently. Skills grow through repetition, through exposure, through time. This is why many learners feel impatient. They think, "I should be fluent by now." But fluency is not a switch. It is a process. Now, let me say something very important. You are not supposed to feel fluent all the time. Even confident speakers have moments where English feels slow. This is normal. The real problem is not speed. The real problem is pressure. Pressure tells you that you must be perfect. Pressure tells you that slow means bad. But slow does not mean bad. Slow means careful. Slow means stable. Now, let's talk about another common challenge. Many learners think they need more content. More videos. More podcasts. More lessons. But often, the problem is not lack of content. The problem is lack of repetition. Your brain learns through patterns. When you hear the same structures again and again, your brain starts to predict them. This is when listening becomes easier. This is when speaking feels more natural. But if you always change content, your brain never relaxes. It stays in new mode. New mode is tiring. Repetition mode is powerful. Now, let me give you an example. Imagine you hear a sentence once. You understand it. But it disappears. Now imagine you hear the same sentence every day for a week. By the third or fourth time, your brain says, "I know this." That feeling is progress. Now, let's practice something small together. Listen carefully. I am building fluency step by step. Listen again. I am building fluency step by step. Now repeat after me. I am building fluency step by step. Good. Notice how this sentence feels calm. It does not rush you. Now, let me explain why this mindset matters. When you accept slow progress, your brain feels safe. When your brain feels safe, learning becomes automatic. Stress blocks learning. Calm opens learning. Now, let's talk about listening frustration. Sometimes you listen to English and you miss parts. You catch some words. You lose others. This can feel discouraging. But this is also normal. Listening is not about catching everything. It is about catching enough. Understanding 60 or 70% is already very good. Your brain fills the rest with context. Now, let me say something very important. You do not need to understand every sentence perfectly to become fluent. You need to feel comfortable with uncertainty. This comfort grows with exposure. Now, let's do another short shadowing moment. Listen. I don't need to understand everything. Listen again. I don't need to understand everything. Now repeat after me. I don't need to understand everything. Good. This sentence helps remove pressure. Now, let me talk about consistency. Consistency does not mean long study sessions. It means regular contact with English. 10 minutes every day is better than 1 hour once a week. Your brain prefers rhythm. Now, let me ask you something gently. What if English could feel like a normal part of your day? Not something you fight with. Not something you stress about. Just something you hear. Something you repeat. Something you live with. This is possible. And this is why we focus on daily listening and shadowing. Now, let me say something encouraging. If you feel slow today, that does not mean you are failing. It means your brain is reorganizing. This is how learning looks from the inside. Now, keep this calm feeling. In the next part, we will start looking at simple daily learning habits that help English grow naturally, without pressure. Now that we understand the challenge, let's talk about solutions. Not big solutions. Not complicated plans. Simple daily actions that build fluency over time. The first daily habit is this. Listen to English every day, even for a short time. Not one long day. Not only when you feel motivated. Every day. This habit is the foundation of everything. Many learners believe they need long study sessions. They think 30 or 60 minutes is necessary. This idea creates pressure. Pressure makes learning heavy. Heavy learning does not last. Short listening sessions work better. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. That is enough. Your brain prefers regular contact, not rare intensity. Now, let me explain how to do this in real life. You choose one source of English. One podcast. One voice. This is important. When you hear the same voice every day, your ears adjust. The rhythm feels familiar. The pronunciation feels clear. This reduces effort. Now, let me give you an example. You listen while walking. You do not stop. You do not take notes. You just listen. Even if you miss parts, your brain is working. This is passive learning. And it is powerful. Now, let's add intention. When you listen, You are not trying to understand everything. You are listening for the flow. The way sentences connect. The way ideas move. Now, let's practice something together. Listen carefully. Listening every day makes English feel familiar. Listen again. Listening every day makes English feel familiar. Now repeat after me. Listening every day makes English feel familiar. Good. This sentence describes the habit. Now, let me say something important. You do not need silence to listen. You do not need full focus. Your brain can learn, even when you are doing simple tasks. Now, let's talk about another part of this habit. Listening should feel calm. If something feels too fast, slow it down. If something feels stressful, change it. Learning should challenge you, but not overwhelm you. Now, let me explain why daily listening works. Each day, your brain hears patterns again. The same structures. The same expressions. Over time, these patterns become automatic. This is how fluency grows. Not through rules. Through exposure. Now, let me talk about another important idea. You do not need new content every day. Repeating the same episode is very helpful. The first time, you understand some parts. The second time, you understand more. The third time, it feels familiar. Familiarity builds confidence. Now, let me say something reassuring. If you feel bored listening again, that is not a problem. Boredom often means your brain is comfortable. Comfort is where learning deepens. Now, let's do another short shadowing practice. Listen. I can learn English a little every day. Listen again. I can learn English a little every day. Now repeat after me. I can learn English a little every day. Good. This sentence supports consistency. Now, let's move to another daily habit. Listen before you speak. Many learners want to speak more. And that is good. But speaking grows naturally from listening. When you listen regularly, your brain stores phrases. Later, they come out when you speak. You do not need to force them. Now, let me give you a real example. You listen to a sentence many times. Later, you hear a similar sentence in real life. Your brain recognizes it. You feel calm. This calm feeling is progress. Now, let me say something important. Daily learning does not need to be perfect. It needs to be present. Some days you listen more. Some days less. Both are okay. What matters is returning. Now, take a slow breath. You are building something real. In the next part, we will talk about adding shadowing to your daily listening and how it helps move from understanding to confident fluency. Listening every day builds understanding. But now, we add something important. The next daily habit is this. Use shadowing to turn listening into fluency. Listening fills your mind. Shadowing activates your voice. Together, they create balance. Many learners listen a lot, but they speak very little. This creates a gap. You understand English, but your mouth feels slow. Shadowing helps close this gap. Let me explain this simply. Shadowing means you listen to a sentence, and then you repeat it. You do not stop to analyze. You do not translate. You follow the sound. You follow the rhythm. This trains your mouth to move naturally in English. Now, let me explain how to use shadowing in a calm way. You do not shadow every sentence. You choose a few. Quality is more important than quantity. You listen to a sentence. You pause. You repeat. That's all. Now, let's practice together. Listen carefully. Daily practice makes English easier. Listen again. Daily practice makes English easier. Now repeat after me. Daily practice makes English easier. Good. Notice how your mouth follows the rhythm. This is not about speed. It is about flow. Now, let me say something important. You do not need to sound perfect. You do not need a strong voice. Clear and slow is enough. When you shadow slowly, your pronunciation improves naturally. Now, let's try another one. Listen. I learn better when I stay calm. Listen again. I learn better when I stay calm. Now repeat after me. I learn better when I stay calm. Very good. This sentence is also a reminder. Calm learning is effective learning. Now, let me explain why shadowing works so well. When you repeat sentences out loud, your brain creates stronger connections. Listening alone is passive. Speaking alone can feel stressful. Shadowing combines both. In a safe way. You are not creating language. You are copying it. This removes pressure. Now, let me talk about when to use shadowing. You can shadow while walking, while driving, while resting. You do not need a desk. You do not need notes. You only need your voice. You can speak quietly. You can whisper. You can repeat in your mind. All of this helps. Now, let me say something reassuring. If some days you only listen, that is okay. If other days you shadow more, that is also okay. Learning does not need to be rigid. It needs to be flexible. Now, let's talk about repetition. Repeating the same sentence many times is very powerful. You may think, I already know this sentence. But knowing is not the same as owning. Ownership comes from repetition. Now, let's do one more short shadowing moment. Listen. I am building fluency step by step. Listen again. I am building fluency step by step. Now repeat after me. I am building fluency step by step. Good. This sentence is true. Fluency grows gradually. Now, let me explain how to combine listening and shadowing in one session. First, you listen to a short section. You do not repeat. Then, you listen again. This time, you shadow 1 or 2 sentences. Then, you continue listening. This rhythm keeps learning calm. Now, let me give you a simple daily plan. You listen for 5 minutes. You shadow for 2 minutes. That's it. 7 minutes can change your day. Now, let me say something important. Shadowing is not performance. It is practice. No one is judging you. No one is listening. You are training your brain. Now, let me talk about confidence. Confidence does not come from speaking perfectly. It comes from feeling familiar with English. Shadowing builds familiarity. When sentences feel familiar, your voice feels relaxed. Now, let me say something honest. Some days shadowing will feel easy. Other days it will feel hard. This is normal. Your brain is adapting. The important thing is to continue. Now, take a slow breath. You are not rushing. You are not forcing. You are building something strong. In the next part, we will talk about using daily learning to answer a common question. How can I keep improving without burning out? Now, let's continue calmly. This part answers a very important question. A question many learners ask quietly. How can I keep improving without feeling tired? Without losing motivation? Without burning out? This question matters. Learning English should not feel heavy. It should not feel like pressure every day. Progress grows best when learning feels sustainable. So let's talk about how to do that. The next daily habit is this. Keep learning light, not intense. Intensity feels exciting at first. But intensity does not last. Light learning lasts. Many learners start strong. They study a lot. They do many things at once. Then they feel tired. Then they stop. This is very common. The problem is not motivation. The problem is overload. Learning works better when it fits your life, not when it fights your life. Now, let me explain this slowly. Daily learning does not mean doing more. It means doing less, more often. A little listening. A little shadowing. That's enough. Now, let me give you an example. Instead of listening to many podcasts, choose one. Instead of learning many new expressions, repeat familiar ones. Familiar language builds confidence. Confidence keeps you going. Now, let me say something important. You do not need to feel motivated to learn. You only need to show up. Motivation comes and goes. Habits stay. Now, let's practice a small reminder together. Listen carefully. I don't need to do too much. Listen again. I don't need to do too much. Now repeat after me. I don't need to do too much. Good. This sentence protects your energy. Now, let me explain another important idea. Learning improves when you leave space for rest. Your brain needs quiet time to organize what you hear. This happens when you sleep, when you walk, when you relax. Rest is not stopping learning. Rest is part of learning. Now, let me talk about guilt. Many learners feel guilty when they miss a day. They think, I failed. This is not true. Missing one day does not erase progress. What matters is returning. Now, let's practice another supportive sentence. Listen. I can continue tomorrow. Listen again. I can continue tomorrow. Now repeat after me. I can continue tomorrow. Good. This sentence keeps learning gentle. Now, let me explain how to protect your routine. If one day feels busy, do less. Listen for 2 minutes. Shadow one sentence. That still counts. Consistency is not perfection. Consistency is continuity. Now, let me say something honest. Some days, English will feel clear. Other days, it will feel confusing. This does not mean you are going backward. It means your brain is processing. Confusion is often a sign that learning is happening deeper. Now, let me explain one more idea. Progress is not always visible. You may not feel improvement today, but one day, you will notice something small. You understand a sentence faster. You respond more easily. You feel less tense. These are signs of growth. Now, let me say something encouraging. If you are still listening right now, you are already doing something right. You are choosing calm learning. You are choosing patience. This matters more than speed. Now, let's take another gentle shadowing moment. Listen. Small steps create real progress. Listen again. Small steps create real progress. Now repeat after me. Small steps create real progress. Very good. This sentence holds the key to long-term fluency. Now, let me prepare you for what comes next. In the next part, we will talk about how to make English part of your identity. Not something you study, but something you live with. This is where learning becomes natural. Now, let's continue gently. This part is about something deeper than technique. It is about identity. Not how much English you know, but how English lives inside your life. Many learners think English is something they study, something separate from who they are. They think, now I learn English. Now I stop. But fluency grows faster when English becomes part of your daily identity. Let me explain this slowly. You already have habits. You wake up. You move through your day. You think. You speak. Now, English joins these habits. Not in a big way. In a small, quiet way. This is powerful. When English feels normal, your brain stops resisting it. Resistance creates tension. Tension blocks fluency. Now, let me show you what this looks like in real life. You wake up in the morning. Before you check your phone, you say one sentence. Good morning. That's it. You don't explain. You don't translate. You just say it. Now, English has entered your day. Later, you prepare for something. You say, I'm ready. This is not studying. This is living. Now, let's practice one small identity sentence together. Listen carefully. English is part of my day. Listen again. English is part of my day. Now repeat after me. English is part of my day. Good. This sentence is important. It changes how you think. Now, let me explain why identity matters. When you think of yourself as someone who practices English sometimes, learning feels optional. But when you think of yourself as someone who lives with English, practice feels natural. You don't force it. You return to it. Now, let's talk about another important shift. Stop thinking, I need to study more. Start thinking, I need to expose myself more. Exposure is gentle. Study is heavy. Exposure means listening while walking. Shadowing one sentence. Hearing English every day. Now, let me say something very important. You do not need to speak English all the time. You do not need to change your life. You only need to invite English into small moments. Small moments add up. Now, let me give you a real example. You are waiting. In line. In traffic. In silence. Instead of scrolling, you listen to English. Instead of thinking in your language, you repeat one sentence. This is not effort. This is habit. Now, let's practice another sentence together. Listen. I use English in small moments. Listen again. I use English in small moments. Now repeat after me. I use English in small moments. Good. This sentence reflects reality. Now, let me talk about consistency again. Consistency does not mean doing the same thing perfectly every day. It means returning. Some days you listen more. Some days less. What matters is that English stays close. Now, let me say something honest. There will be days when English feels boring. This is normal. Boredom often means you are past the beginner excitement. This is not a problem. This is a sign of stability. Stable learning builds fluency. Now, let me talk about confidence. Confidence is not loud. Confidence is calm. When English feels calm, you speak more naturally. Shadowing helps here. Repeating sentences trains your mouth and your mind. Over time, your voice feels comfortable. Now, let's practice one more calm sentence together. Listen. I feel comfortable with English. Listen again. I feel comfortable with English. Now repeat after me. I feel comfortable with English. Good. Even if you don't feel this yet, saying it matters. Words shape mindset. Now, let me remind you of something important. You do not need to rush. You do not need to compare yourself to anyone. Your journey is yours. Fluency is not about reaching a finish line. It is about building a relationship with the language. And relationships grow with time. Now, we are almost at the end. In the next part, we will turn this identity into very small daily actions. Simple actions that keep English alive in your life, without pressure. Now, let's continue slowly. This part is about action, but very small action. Not big plans. Not long schedules. Small habits that fit into real life. When habits are small, they stay. When habits are heavy, they disappear. So let's keep everything light. The first small action is this. Choose one short moment every day for English. Only one. Not many. This moment can be very simple. For example, when you wake up, you sit up, you breathe, you listen to English for 2 minutes. That's it. You don't repeat yet. You don't think. You just listen. This tells your brain, English is part of my day. Now, let me explain why this works. Your brain loves routines. When something happens at the same time every day, it becomes automatic. Automatic habits do not need motivation. Now, let's add another small action. Repeat one sentence out loud. Only one sentence. You hear it. You pause. You repeat it slowly. Let's practice this together. Listen carefully. I learn English a little every day. Listen again. I learn English a little every day. Now repeat after me. I learn English a little every day. Good. That took less than 10 seconds. But it matters. Now, let me say something important. Repeating one sentence is better than repeating none. Now, let's add another small habit. Use English during waiting time. Waiting happens every day. You wait in line. You wait for someone. You wait for time to pass. Instead of doing nothing, you listen. Or you repeat a sentence in your mind. This is quiet practice. Quiet practice still counts. Now, let me give you an example. You are waiting. You repeat in your head. I don't need to rush. Let's practice it together. Listen. I don't need to rush. Now repeat after me. I don't need to rush. Good. This sentence is useful for English. And for life. Now, let's talk about another small action. Use English with your environment. You see objects every day. A chair. A table. A door. You can name them quietly. You can also use simple sentences. For example, I'm sitting. I'm standing. I'm ready. Let's practice one. Listen. I'm ready. Now repeat after me. I'm ready. Good. You do not need to say this to anyone. You say it to yourself. This connects English to reality. Now, let's add another habit. End your day with English. At night, your mind slows down. This is a good moment for learning. You choose one sentence from the day. You repeat it once or twice. Not more. For example, small steps create progress. Let's practice. Listen. Small steps create progress. Now repeat after me. Small steps create progress. Good. Your brain remembers language well. Before sleep. Now, let me say something important. You do not need to do all of these habits. You choose one. Maybe two. That is enough. Learning works best when it feels easy to continue. Now, let's talk about flexibility. Some days, life is busy. Some days, you feel tired. On those days, you do less. You listen for 1 minute. You repeat one sentence. That still counts. Consistency is not about doing a lot. It is about not stopping. Now, let me say something honest. There will be days when you forget to practice. This is normal. When this happens, do not judge yourself. You simply return. Returning is a skill. Now, let me give you one more small habit. Say one kind sentence to yourself in English. Learning a language is emotional. You can support yourself. For example, I'm doing my best. Let's practice it together. Listen. I'm doing my best. Now repeat after me. I'm doing my best. Good. This sentence builds confidence. Now, let me remind you of something. Fluency is not built in one day. It is built in many small moments. Moments like listening. Moments like repeating. Moments like staying calm. All of these moments add up. Now, stay with me. In the final part, we will bring everything together and close this episode gently. You are almost there. Now, let's slow down together. You have reached the end of this episode. And that matters. You listened. You stayed. You gave yourself time. That alone is progress. Today, we talked about slow English, daily listening, and gentle shadowing. Not as a quick fix. Not as a trick. But as a way to build fluency. Step by step. Let's take a moment to bring everything together. You learned that fluency does not come from speed. It comes from comfort. You learned that daily listening trains your brain to recognize patterns. You learned that shadowing helps your voice follow English naturally. And you learned that learning does not need to feel heavy to be effective. The core idea of this episode is simple. Small daily contact with English creates real fluency over time. Not one big effort. Not perfect study days. Just calm, regular exposure. Now, let me share one sentence that holds the heart of today's episode. This is the sentence to remember. I build fluency by showing up every day. Say it with me slowly. I build fluency by showing up every day. Again. I build fluency by showing up every day. This sentence is not only English practice. It is a mindset. It reminds you that progress comes from presence. Now, think about your daily life. You already have routines. You already have habits. English does not need to replace them. It can live inside them. You listen while walking. You repeat one sentence while waiting. You end your day with a calm phrase. These are small actions, but they shape long-term ability. Now, let me speak to you honestly. There will be days when you feel confident. There will also be days when you feel unsure. Both are part of learning. Fluency is not a straight line. It moves forward quietly. Sometimes you notice it. Sometimes you don't. But it grows. Now, let me say something important. You do not need to compare yourself to anyone. You do not need to rush. Your journey is valid. Exactly as it is. You are building a relationship with English. And relationships grow with time and care. Now, if this episode helped you feel calmer, more confident, or more focused, you can stay with us here at Daily English Whisper. You can subscribe and continue learning with slow listening, gentle shadowing, and clear English. This channel is here to support you. No pressure. No rush. Just steady progress. My name is Alex. And I want you to know something. I'm proud of you for continuing. I'm proud of you for staying patient. I'm proud of you for building fluency step by step. Even when it feels slow, you are moving forward. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of yourself. Keep English close. And I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.